A very warm welcome to all the audience of Next Officers. I'm your host, Arpit Kaushik, and as I promise you every time that we strive our best to bring out the military veterans to our show who can showcase their experiences for the betterment of the youth, who can guide them, motivate them, not just in their personal lives, but also in professional lives. So, keeping on with our legacy, I am here with the one and only Colonel Gaurav Chaturvedi. Colonel Chaturvedi's credentials are simply mesmerizing. If we know about him, he has served for Indian Army for 26 years. He reached to the level of colonel. He commanded his unit and he has served right from the north in Siachen to the dense forest of the northeast. And talking about him, he has joined the special forces. He is a air trooper. He belonged to 7th Para Regiment, and a lot of things to know about him. So, without a further ado, I'll give my the part of speaking to Colonel Chaturvedi, and I would like to welcome you here, sir.
Thank you so
And
much
just
for getting me here. It is a matter of the greatest pleasure for me to speak to you and your esteemed audience. And so let's start off with our lives. So I was born in Bhopal and brought up in a place called Agra by my grandparents, and I was brought up in almost a rural kind of an upbringing, a very hard upbringing, which was apparently hard at that time, but I feel that it made me a very, very determined and a very, very strong person the way they brought me up. And of course, our native place is also close to Agra. I belong to basically a small village in Bateshwar area. And so we visit our village also once in a while. I still visit my village. Want to keep my my roots alive all the time. I do believe in it. Then I did my Bachelor of Science from St. John's College, Agra. And yes, so I was an average student because I was never very interested in my times, there were only three professions actually. Either you became an engineer or a doctor or you joined a government service. So I never wanted to become an engineer or a doctor. Though my mother was a doctor and she was very keen that I become a doctor, but somehow I was never very my bent of mind was never towards this thing. Since I was 4 years of age, I was very clear that I wanted to join the army and I wanted to join my father's battalion, that is 7th Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, Special Forces. So, having said that, yeah, from 13 years of age, my father got me into a lot of rock climbing and mountaineering. So the first time I climbed a rock, he put me on a 100 feet rock, and frankly, I was not so fit. So I got stuck midway. So there was an instructor with me, but my father just shouted from below. He says, he says, Gaurav, the only way is up. You can stay there for the whole day. And he says, the longer you stay there, the more tired you will be. So the only way is up for you. He says, from my side, you keep hanging there the whole day. So somehow I reached that, the top. And when I reached the top, I was told that the only way to go down is by rappelling. Now, I had never rappelled in my life before. For a young school kid who was pampered, who had no exposure to it, of course, I used to see a lot of people doing it all the time. It was quite a shocker to look down and, this thing. But that's what started me on into fitness and to mountaineering and into rock climbing. And then I joined the NCC. Yeah, I joined the NCC also in Madhya Pradesh, where I became the state in the junior wing. I came first in firing. And that's how the journey started, on firing, on fitness, on discipline. And then since I was very, very keen and the charm of uniform was always there, so I used to make sure that even my NCC uniform was where I was an NCC certificate of my times. And so that's how the journey started. Then I joined the OTA in my first attempt from the college only. And I joined the OTA. I passed out. I opted for 7th para, and then I got 7th para also. I had, in all my options, there were three options. I put just 7th para, 7th para, 7th para, and nothing else. And of course, I had the advantage that my father was also from the same unit, and my father was a war wounded person, and in he was also a decorated soldier. So I got that grade one parental claim. So I landed up 7 para. Probation, just like for everyone, was very hard and very tough. Probation was designed in a manner that they wanted to break you down. They wanted you to break down and then have a look at you as to what you do post that. So the probation ended, and I got commissioned in Manipur. And in Manipur in 91, Manipur in 91, the Naga war was on. The Naga Kuki, the so-called Naga Kuki clashes were on. It is called the Naga Kuki War. So I have from my day one, I have seen a lot of bloodshed in those days, and of course, the weaponry, the modus operandi of the army has changed over the years a lot. We are a much better equipped army. We have so, but my view is that we had the best equipment of those times. Similarly, every decade the equipment is turned over. So every decade you get the best equipment in the world of those times. So I am not the kind guy who will ever tell you that the equipment was bad. The equipment was what it was at that time, and the equipment now is what it is at this time. It is just that these people are lucky they have fancier looking equipment. गोली तो यार दोनों में से निकलती है ना. It's how you use it, how you train on it. Yeah, so that's my take on it. And then, of course, I did everything possible what has to be done in the army. I was the captain of my cross country team. 7 para has never lost a cross country for the past maybe 40, 50 years. And they are a very strong this thing. And in 7 para, especially, if you are not a runner, you are not there. You have to be a good runner to be in 7 para. Everything else is good, but to prove and to get the legitimacy and acceptance from the soldiers, you just have to be a good runner. So if you're not a good runner, then you practice 15 kilometers a day in your own time. Maybe before PT, after games, in the evening, whenever, at night. And running is like religion. And I got so fed up of running that these days I'm taking a pause from running. From maybe this week, I'm planning to restart. And in the next 4 months, I'm going to run a half marathon again. So we'll be in touch. Okay, I'll send you my half marathon picture. So
Definitely.
that's the. Then, of course, being part of the regiment, I went as an ADC to GOC. I was a AD camp to a general. Then, of course, I was very fortunate to have 7 tenures in Jammu and Kashmir. I have been on the Siachen Glacier in 96 and 97. I have done 2 tenures, and I have been twice on the glacier. And mind you, I'm very proud to tell you that in my times, there was no ceasefire on the glacier. It was war. When you entered this base camp, nor was it so advanced, nor we had so much of sat phones and all the roads and all coming up. You know, that place was all business and it was war. It was a serious place to be in. We made it very light, by light-hearted banter and playing practical jokes on each other the entire day, throughout the day, in the evening. I mean, to the extent that we used to throw water in the sleeping bag, while training. And when you enter the city, suddenly you'll find, so all those things happen in the paras a lot. So, yeah. And, one day I remember in Siachen Glacier that I carried my rucksack and I just lifted up, absent-minded. It becomes instinctive now. You'll wear your helmet, you'll wear your equipment, and then you will pick up your rucksack and just take it for training. You know, After a while, I found that the rucksack was pulling me down. And I was like, yeah, I mean, what the hell is happening with my life here? That maybe that I'm not well today or something, or as a young guy, you get all sorts of thoughts in your mind. Maybe, yeah, I have become physically soft overnight, or something has happened to me, you know. And then, at lunchtime, I finally gave up. मैंने कहा what the hell यार. So I opened my rucksack and opened the whole thing. Somebody had kept a huge boulder in my rucksack and I was carrying it the whole day. so so those things keep happening to each other. So if I will start on the lessons learned on all this, one is that uh, extreme conditions give you extreme brotherhood. They give you brotherhood. However, there is a thing called dark humor in the army. You know, the dark humor, what happens is that I remember that after coming from Siachen, I was in a hotel, in a restaurant, and I was with a few friends of mine who were not in serving in the armed forces. They were doing their various jobs in the CV street. Somebody was a doctor, yeah, and one or two were businessmen. And suddenly I started joking or something. I cracked a joke, and there was a pin drop silence because everybody looked at me. That what joke have I cracked? So that's what is part of dark humor. So because of all the hard times and all these things, you do become a different. But my take is, as we call in say in seven para, we are not different. You are different. We are absolutely normal to each other. You know, so it's like this. If you are normal, then you join us. But if you're different, you won't even try. So that's what my take was, and it is still about my battalion and my life. I have no regrets on what I've done. Then Siachen, of course, was firing used to go on for three days. Artillery barrages. Even Pakis used to fire a lot on us. We used to fire on Pakistanis. I mean, actually, it was a two-way process. Sometimes we fired first, and then they retaliated. They responded. Sometimes they, and then we responded. It was like this, and then there was a lot of rocket fire and missile fire which you do on each other, to post which are close. So that was a great fun thing to happen. And as we progress, I'll keep telling you of these incidents. And then Siachen, I came back to peace location where I got married finally, and then at 10 years service, and then again after 3 months of marriage, we went to North Kashmir for 3 years, and we moved 32 times in 3 years. So my wife remembers, she still tells that, and her voice breaks. She says that a newly married person, and there was no mobiles and all in those times. So she used to call. She used to try to call me up for 8 hours. I mean, 8 hours you're dialing that number just to talk to me once, maybe in 3 days. And she says that after 8 hours, somebody from the core exchange will pick up. Then you will go to the div exchange. Then you will go to a brigade. Then you'll go to the battalion. Then you'll reach the team exchange. And then you are told कि नहीं साहब तो he's out on a mission or on a patrol. Sorry मैम साहब साहब तो है ही नहीं मैडम आज तो है ही नहीं. So she says the whole thing will start again. And then she says that she never knew that where will I be. You know, location kept changing all the time, and we frankly could not tell anyone also that we are doing this, doing that. So those are the challenges of being a military wife. Also, perhaps you should talk to a few military wives what they have undergone. I have a lot of respect for the military wife community. I think they undergo a lot more they undergo a lot of mental strain,
Agony, I
challenges.
must say, mental agony.
Agony, yeah, more than us. We are there happy with our brothers. They are the ones who are alone actually, wherever they are. And they are the ones who are always stressed out which telegram will come. Military wise, when their husbands are in field, they a lot of them they dread the telegram. Somebody coming to meet them in uniform. All those things they are very apprehensive about those. So you have to be very careful when their husbands are away. When they are it's called separated family accommodation and all. So the army looks after them a lot. I mean, there's no doubt there is a whole system in place. But still, I mean, she's alone, whatever surrender, and your kids are alone. And you never see your kids growing up. So uh, then between Siachen and, between 96 and 97 and 2000, there was a major event which happened in the Indian Army. That was, of course, the Kargil War. And I was fortunate again to be part of the Kargil War. We were in Mashko Valley. in the Dras subsector, and it was also like all hell broken loose. It was like I've seen fires like tornadoes and hurricanes coming, and hitting us, and our fire also going the whole night. 120 guns firing at the same time, maybe 10,000 rounds the entire night, or maybe more. So my all those things make you very introspective about life and very very philosophical. Like I follow Stoicism by Marcus Aurelius and Seneca a lot. Memento mori. You have to accept the fact that you can die any day. So now is you have to live in the now. It's very important to live, enjoy. I mean, not enjoy all the time, but you have to live the now. You have to be present now. What you're doing. I feel this way. That my now is very important. If I'm talking to you, I should be all in. You know, and I should be thinking of what to tell you, how to tell you. So memento mori is a very good concept. And of course, after today I'm starting a reread of the Bhagavad Gita. I read that a lot whenever I have time. So in the evening, sometime after office, an hour or so every day, I'm going to read the Bhagavad Gita all over again. In fact, when I was in the army, I used to keep a pocket Bhagavad Gita in my pocket all the time. Even in jungle, if I had time, I used to keep reading it. It helped me a lot, you know. Yeah, and I used to. I mean, you'll be surprised that, uh, of course, Lord Krishna and Lord Arjun's conversation is very, very meaningful. But I'm super fascinated by Lord Kern's, sacrifice for his family all the time. I think he's the greatest warrior, and he was the most kind-hearted person I think India had. A person who could just tear off his battle armor and give it to his brother so that he could live. I mean, what more can be better? So, so that's what it is. And then coming on to that, I came back to Special Forces Training School, where of course Special Forces Training School was a training wing when we joined, and we converted into a school. We are the first team which converted it. So I had the fortune to be nominated to make a motto for the school, which is like Shauryam Dakshyam Yuddhe. And I made that motto from the Bhagavad Gita again. And, uh, and after making it, I forgot about it. Life takes over. I was actually recalled early. My tenure in SFTS was not a full tenure, and I was, instead of 24 months or 2.5 years, I was called by my commanding officer to be the second in command of the unit in a peace area in 18, 20 months. So I left in a hurry, and then I forgot about it. So, and then for 20 years, it kept, it never occurred to me that I had made this. And then, when that movie came, no Uri, I saw people, using that frame, and my wife also turned, oh wow, ये तो हमने बनाया था. Because she saw me, going through the Bhagavad Gita for 2 3 days, 2 3 nights I took. Then finally I picked those words from the Bhagavad Gita, and it was a great moment. Of course, I think the making it was also a great pleasure, but seeing it on the screen was a bigger thrill for me. I would say that. And then, of course, I did the Defense Services Staff College at Wellington. Then I went to Doda as a GSO1 operations of CI Force Delta Force, and then I commanded 26 Assam Rifles in Manipur, in None, and we rewrote history of the battalion. We did very well. I mean, the battalion also. I also aligned with the battalion very well, and the battalion also aligned with my thoughts very well. I mean, it was a two-way process. It was a very, very, very thick love affair, if I may say, till today. And despite not being from the Assam Rifles, because Assam Rifles, it's a rotating command. So you come from the army for 3 years, 3.5 years, and I had a longish command. Then I took the battalion to Mizoram, where again we did a stupendous job. Very, very good job. 26 AR is an amazing battalion. It's called the Blue Chips. It's called Ujwal 26 and the Blue Chip Battalion. And then, of course, after that, I went to the Para Center in Bangalore as a deputy. And then from there onwards, I had made up my mind that I have had enough of the army and I should look for an alternate career outside. Because ultimately, I was very happy in the field all the time. But then what happens is that while you are in the field and you are actually, people say that there is a lot of sacrifice in you alone, but my take is that, yeah, while you're alone, you're not really alone. Your comrades, your buddies, your brother officers, your everybody is there. So army, that's what. So 10th of July, I mean, was the day when suddenly, the day came, and it came too soon, actually, I think. I think the days are long, but, and the years are short. And, and I found myself, I had shifted out, I had taken a house on rent in Jammu only because my son was studying there. The last posting was in Jammu. And then finally, I was standing outside that civil house in uniform, and my driver just hugged me and he cried. And finally, I told him, I said, go. I mean, you will have to go. He was last like Zulfikar Ahmed. तो ऐसे जुल्फी जाना तो पड़ेगा ही ना. कहते थे अभी भी माइंड बदली कर दो सर, पेपर वापस कर देते हैं. मैं कहा नहीं होगा जुल्फी, अभी जाना ही पड़ेगा. Then he went, and suddenly you find yourself alone, actually. And if you want me to talk about transition, I think leaving the army, these are my personal views. Somebody might think differently. I respect that also. For me, leaving the army was a very, very hard decision, hard and the most heartbreaking decision for me. You know, for me, it was very tough to leave the army. And uh, what hits you is the loneliness. That day when I was standing outside my house alone, you know, it was as if, when you fire a lot of rocket launchers or after an encounter, that uh, the wind from your ears blows out. It's like a vacuum all around you. So I was actually feeling that vacuum in my ears, and my heart was so heavy. And from there, the journey starts of transition. And luckily or fortunately, I had no mentor outside the army. I had nobody to guide me, which was in a way tougher for me. But now, when I look 6.5, 7 years behind, I think that was the best thing which happened to me. Because, I had no preconceived ideas borrowed from anyone. I formulated my own new life. I formulated my own ideas. I wrote my own history, and I treaded my own path. It's not been easy. My path has not been easy at all. But in the corporate, I have not had a very easy time at all. But yes, I am very, very proud of it. I'm extremely humbled by the experience, and I'm very grateful to God that I am where I am today. So in the journey, my wife has been an anchor, and one or two friends of mine have been very close to me. I mean, all the time. If I name it, there's one Brigadier Samir Karol, and who's my bestest friend from the army. And there is Mr. Ravi Verma, who's been my friend since class 5. He's from Agra, and he's like my childhood friend. These two guys have been like pillars of encouragement. And of course, there's another great friend of mine called Rajesh Vajpayee, who's from the corporate sector, who's in Dehradun now. He has made a house in a small village, and he stays there. These the cries, and my wife Sumati Chaturvedi and my son Madhav Chaturvedi have been my anchors, and they are the ones who look up to me all the time, who reassure me all the time. And yeah, I mean, if you ask a person, I had reached a stage, in the corporate also, because of maybe my external circumstances or my internal response to them, that I had started needing a lot of reassurance from people. So these are the people who, in those times, they pulled me through of it. They were just, and it's very important for all of us to have a 2 a.m. friend and a 3 a.m. friend. You know, you should have those friends. I believe in that kind of friendship, and those friends, you can't have too many of them. वो मिलेंगे ही नहीं आपको. But those friends are like, you just have to walk up to them and tell them that we are going to kill somebody. I'm not going to tell you how. I'm not going to tell you where. That guy should ask me your car or my car. Bas. If matlab, I feel very very blessed that I have one or two of these friends, and they are the guys whom I actually look up to, and they have been guiding me, and you know this thing. So Arpit, this is my story in brief. Now you can ask questions.